Hey, how's it going everyone? This is Dominic from the Comic Book Report YouTube channel over here doing another guest review for organicpricedbooks.com. Today we're going to be doing a quick overview of the Iron Fist, Danny Rand, The Early Years Omnibus from Marvel Comics. And while I can't wait to jump into today's book, I do want to give a couple quick facts about today's collection. The issues in this volume were written primarily by Chris Claremont, Doug Monek, I'm sure I'm pronouncing that wrong, sorry, and Tony Isabella, and illustrated primarily by John Byrne, Rudy Nebres, and more. The comics in this volume were first published by Marvel Comics beginning in 1974. The volume itself collects Marvel Premiere issues 15 through 25, Iron Fist issues 1 through 15, Marvel Team Up issues 63 and 64, and materials from The Deadly Hands of Kung Fu issue 10, 18 through 24, 29, 31 through 33, and Special Issue 1, along with Bizarre Adventures issue 25. This is an oversized hardcover edition with nice glossy print paper stock, a sewn binding, and a total of 952 pages. Before we go into taking more looks at the exterior, I do want to also say, while I'm not giving spoilers in this review and I'm trying to steer away from the graphic materials, this book does have a mature content warning, which you'll see on the back of the dust jacket. This is primarily for some instances of female top nudity and instances of violence, maybe some blood, things like that. Again, I'm not going to show the more graphic images in this overview, but it should be known for prospective collectors out there that there is some of that material in here. It's not a ton. Most of it occurs in the last issue or two of the book, actually. But again, there's a reason for that warning on the back of the book, and I just wanted to make sure people were aware. Looking at this front cover, I will say as well, this is the standard edition of this omnibus. They did release a direct market cover. I'll try to get a thumbnail of that so you can compare and take a look at that. Another great one there. There are only differences as well on the spine. The kind of little picture window will also be different on the direct market. I really like both covers. We have this one for the standard, which is really fun. I think this is issue 1 of Iron Fist. And then for the other, we actually have the first appearance of Sabretooth for fans of that character from the X-Men franchise. The back cover has all these great thumbnails of all of the comics we have presented in this book. Really great to see everything at a glance. This is really similar to the rest of the Bronze Age Marvel omnibuses and Silver Age omnibuses they produce. Really good to see it though. You can also see that mature content warning, a bit about the contents, pricing, barcode, things like that. And as we finish our quick look at the dust jacket, I do want to do one more minute examining that dust jacket one final time. This time I'll show you the interior flaps of the dust jacket. I'll open it all up so you can see it all in one look. And then after that, I'll show you the under the dust jacket actual hardback book itself. Recently, Marvel has been printing things on these omnibuses the last several years. With more modern omnibuses, it's not uncommon to see actual art, sometimes wraparounds, things like that. For these Silver and Bronze Age collections, though, this is much more common. Under the dust jacket will usually have the title. The spines, like in this case, will be just reproduced, but it's really great to see still. The back cover of the actual hardback, though, in this collection is one of my personal favorites. We actually have an image of that dragon logo that Danny Rand has kind of branded on his chest. I love this as the back of the book. It makes total sense, and I just think it looks really, really striking. There it is for all of you to see. How cool does that look? And even though this isn't a wraparound, I will go ahead and spread it out so you can see everything on the hardback book itself. Again, at a glance, I think that Marvel knocked it out of the park as far as the design of this book goes. Really, really well made. I just think it looks really sleek. And now that we've gone ahead and examined the exterior, I do want to spend a moment looking at the binding for this omnibus. I will say again, it is sewn binding, and for my copy, we got a nice little eye. It laid down pretty flat. This is still at an era where a lot of these issues have a nice margin around them, so I didn't find gutter loss to be too big of a deal whatsoever in this book. You'll get to see it though as I flip through and decide for yourself, but I thought the binding was really well done. And now that we're done looking at that, we can go ahead and transition to the omnibus itself. And as we begin to make our way into the book, I will say I like the setup of this book as well. Opening the omnibus after the end pages, we got some great title pages. We got a creator page that shows kind of everyone involved with this book, the publication kind of bibliography page or whatever. And then we get kind of into the table of contents, which for my money, I love a well-mapped, page-numbered table of contents. You don't have it as much with modern books because you don't have a ton of page numbers because they don't really have those margins anymore. You just have art all the way down to the bottom of the page. But this is still in an era, like I said, where all the panels are really well defined and you still have room for the page numbers. And because of that, we have all the issues and everything indexed really well, titled in that table of contents. After that, we do have the first of a series of introductions. We have a couple of these strewn throughout the omnibus as well. Really, really fun. I think these might have been lifted from the Marvel Masterworks kind of introductions. But after that, we jump right into the Marvel Premiere issue that kicks off the origin of the immortal Iron Fist. A couple things I want to say as well. This collection does have some nice letter pages at the end of the issues where appropriate. I like to skim those letter pages, but they're a really fun time capsule to get a pulse on what the audience was feeling, what the kind of creators or editors were up to over at Marvel. There's a lot of good humor and jokes throughout that as well. Anyway, it's a great piece to have in these omnibuses. Again, not uncommon to see in these Bronze and Silver Age collections. The other thing kind of about the layout or putting together of this book, I want to say right at the jump, is that you will notice as I flip through that there are portions of this book that are in black and white. Not everything is a colorized comic. What do I mean by that? The black and white portions are actually from the Deadly Hands of Kung Fu series. This was a series going on at Marvel. I believe it has its own omnibus collections as well. But Iron Fist played a role in that series. He had a couple appearances, and they appear here chronologically between some of the other issues of either Marvel Premiere or Iron Fist proper. You'll just have those issues or the materials from the Deadly Hands of Kung Fu. A note about these black and white issues, they didn't really have to adhere to that comic code of authority, so these are the issues you'll find kind of darker themes, sometimes instances of greater violence. In the case of the last couple issues in this book, you'll have brief instances of female nudity as well. Again, there's not an extreme amount of this, but it still should be noted for collectors out there. These issues didn't really do as much for me. Like I said, they were a little bit more adult-oriented. The art is much more mature as well, just as far as how it's drawn. Again, the fight sequences and the instances of violence. I think for more completionists out there, it's probably really cool for all of you to get more of the Iron Fist appearances. I think it's kind of really cool that they added that in many ways. This might not be for me, though, as much as the Marvel Premiere issues and the Iron Fist issues we get, again, in their color. Really, really a fun book, though. We have a little bit of everything here. As far as the book itself, we start off with the origin of Iron Fist. This is a character who is from our world, from New York. He gets taken into this mountain range in the east, and he's trying to find, with his dad, this mythical city that's kind of run by monks. His parents both die on the journey. The circumstances of that I'll leave a little bit vague here, but he's basically raised by monks, and he gets this ability known as the Iron Fist, where he can kind of focus his energies and essence into his hand and become like a thing unto iron, and he can just pulverize people. He's like a super trained martial artist, and he basically finds his way back to Earth. This mythical city can only be accessed once every 10 years, where it intersects with the earthly plane. So he comes there around 10-ish. He leaves maybe 10 years later when he's a young adult, maybe 20-ish, and he's on a mission to kind of avenge his parents, and that's where this book really starts, and it spins out from there. What I really like about it too is that a lot of the narration in this book is done in the second tense. So instead of saying Iron Fist did this, or even I did this, being in the third person or the first person tense, it says you did this. You went to this building to try to find them. You summoned the Iron Fist. It's a really, really fun, kind of literary setup that really just sets itself apart from a lot of other things going on at the time. Really, really liked that. I also think Danny Rand as a character is much more complex than a lot of the other Marvel heroes we had at the time, and I just think he's handled extraordinarily well. The fact that a lot of this book is also written and then illustrated by Chris Claremont and John Byrne, respectively, it was just a real treat. I had never read these issues before, and as an Uncanny X-Men fan, having that dream team on a book like this, it was so much fun. I think for a book coming out in the Bronze Age, the mid to late 70s, I think that this felt a lot more modern than I had expected. This character much more interesting, and even the supporting cast of characters just a ton of fun. I'm looking at characters like Colleen Wing and Misty Knight, along with some of these other characters from Kunlun. Just really interesting. I really like it. This book was buoyed by a lot of great character moments as well, and we even had a couple fun moments where you could see Iron Fist in the greater Marvel universe battling people like Iron Man or Captain America, or in one case the X-Men. Really, really fun stuff here. At the back of the book, you have a good selection of extras. We have some promotional materials, the cover for maybe different collections, and a lot of like outlines or kind of art behind the scenes, kind of detail work and images. Really a fun facet for collectors out there who enjoy these kind of special bonus features. I thought that they had a really good selection at the end of this omnibus. And overall, this was just a really great Bronze Age collection. After reading the Luke Cage omnibus and now this Iron Fist one, I'm just really fingers crossing that we'll see a Power Man and Iron Fist omnibus collection coming out sometime in the future. Here's hoping, Marvel. If you're interested in this book or want to get other things from organicpricedbooks.com, I recommend checking out their website. You can actually use my code, the Comic Book Report, at checkout to save $2 off of your order. Note that if you use my affiliate code, make a purchase, I will earn a small commission, but thank you so much for considering. And hey, if you want to see a full review of this omnibus, you can check out my channel in the coming weeks, the Comic Book Report. Thank you so much, everyone, for watching. This has been a real blast. This was a truly fun one. Until next time, have a good one.